Taiko No Tatsujin was recently announced for the Nintendo Switch and PS4 here in North America. However, it was released on Nintendo Switch in Japan earlier last month while I was visiting the country, so I decided to pick up the game for an early review based on the Japanese copy. Relive the enthralling Taiko arcade experience now at home and on the go. For those of you unfamiliar with the series, Taiko no Tatsujin, which literally translates to Taiko Master in English, is a music rhythm series by Namco that's also a popular arcade machine in Japan. While the series has come to consoles before, it seems like the perfect game on the Switch with the console's Joy-Cons perfectly mimicking the actions of the Taiko controls on the arcade version. Taiko no Tatsujin has you drumming along to the beat of the song you've chosen. The notes are broken up into two main types, either red or blue. Red notes represent the middle of the taiko drum, while the blue notes represent the rim of the taiko drum. Occasionally you'll get different variations of these notes. For example, there are larger red and blue notes that have you hit both sides of the taiko drum, either the two rims or the two insides of it. The rest of the note types have you quickly drumming the same note over and over again. It's incredibly easy to pick up and play. There's a number of different controller types varying on the platform you're playing on. For the Switch version, for example, you can play on the Pro controller, on the touchscreen, 2 Joy-Con, or the sold separately Taiko drum controller. I didn't buy the extra peripheral, but essentially it mimics the Taiko arcade experience only on a smaller and more plastic scale. The Joy-Con option lets you play with buttons like you would on the Pro controller or use motion controls instead. The motion controls are moderately accurate. You hold the Joy-Con sideways and swing them straight down for a red note and diagonally like if you were hitting the rim of a taiko drum for the blue notes. If you're playing on one of the first two difficulties for a song, you can get away with the motion controls. However, on more challenging difficulties, the motion controls can often do a double input, so I'd say motion controls should be used for the more casual difficulties like the first two options. For the punishing difficulties, I'd recommend either using the touchscreen or the physical buttons that map the red notes to the face buttons and the rim notes to the shoulder buttons. As for the song list, there's a total of 74 songs with some unlockable tracks that can either be unlocked via DLC or by playing the game, essentially just playing the main game mode or the minigame mode a certain amount of times. The songs are broken up into 7 categories consisting of pop, anime, Vocaloid, variety, game music, Namco originals, and classical. You'll find some songs from previous games in the series here, but even some new tracks from more modern bands like Zenzenzense by Radwimps. Popular songs like that sadly aren't the original songs though. There are covers, and though they are pretty good ones, they're still not the originals. There are some interesting additions for the Nintendo Switch version though. Jump Up Superstar from Super Mario Odyssey and the battle theme from Splatoon 2 all make an appearance here. Now the main game mode has you choosing a character to play as. These characters range from previous entries in the series to some guest characters like Kirby and the Squid from Splatoon. Each of these characters has special abilities that affect the gameplay, well, everyone except the series mascot's Don-chan. Some of these abilities can be useful for newcomers of the series still trying to get a hang of things. Kirby, for example, makes the strike zone for notes much easier to hit. I found the main game mode to be incredibly entertaining and a solid workout if you're playing with the motion controls. Songs were catchy and were easily transcribed into notes that the gameplay could use. One gripe I had though was with the difficulty settings. Not so much that it was too hard, but after the second difficulty, I felt like the gameplay kinda skipped a difficulty and just got harder. It's also why I mentioned that I only recommend using the motion controls for the first 2 difficulty settings, as the difficulty settings aren't completely gradual. Outside of the main game mode, there are some minigames that you can play with up to 4 players. These games tend to have you feel out the beat of a song in different scenarios as you try to match up the scene. They're very humorous to watch play out, but ultimately are just simple distractions. I found myself playing them from time to time, but it wasn't too long until I found myself back in the main game mode. Speaking of which, you can play with one other person locally on one Switch, or with multiple people if they bring their own Switch and play wirelessly locally. These were great ways to get competitive with friends, and I found it to be overall more entertaining than the minigames. Taiko no Tatsujin is a beautiful looking game that's just dripping in cute and charming visuals. Starting up the game, you're presented in this colorful menu that displays all the available game modes, giving you a glance at the vast and vibrant color palette that will be on display. During gameplay, you'll of course see the notes you're supposed to play, but also lovely Japanese themed backgrounds like Matsuri. Matsuri is just a typical Japanese festival. Best of all, it's all these little animations evolve with the song. Animals, for example, will come out and start dancing and playing music as you continuously keep playing all the notes. It's a very happy vibe music game that just spews out a ton of charm and adorableness everywhere you look. It also helps that the experience translates well over to the Nintendo Switch's handheld and tabletop mode. Everything is so easily seen and the experience isn't tarnished by the smaller screen. With this being a music game, I'm happy to report that the music and sound design is absolutely stellar in Taiko no Tatsujin. The music throughout the game has a nice variety of different genres, including old classics and new songs as well. It feels like there's a bit of something for everyone here. There's some clever use of audio design too. Shuffling through the menu sounds like you're hitting a taiko drum. Actually, just hitting the correct notes in the game gives off the sound of a drum as well, but what really sells the effect is the HD rumble that's mapped to the big note hits. That HD rumble effect gets further expanded if you're playing with motion controls to really make it feel like you're playing on an actual taiko drum set. It's all really well done and thought out. Taiko no Tatsujin is a fantastic game that had me playing for hours on my trip in Japan and on my flight back to California. The music library was both classic and modern, providing music that anyone can get into, although the list of songs available in North America is most likely going to change, or at least still pending. That also goes with one of my gripes in this game, that being that some of the most popular songs are cover songs. It's sad to see that the original songs in arcades aren't available here. Motion controls can also use a bit of work, as they aren't entirely accurate and sort of push you to either buy the taiko drum accessory or switch to the physical or touchscreen controls on harder difficulties. With that being said, the cover songs were still pretty good, and though the motion controls weren't super accurate, I found the physical and touchscreen controls to be perfectly fine for the harder difficulties, whether you're playing docked or on the go. The only other thing I'd want to see more of in this game is more songs, and there's already free DLC in Japan for it, and I'm sure there's going to be some paid and more free DLC in the future. If I had to give it a score, and that's entirely me basing it on the Japanese Nintendo Switch version I have, because I don't know what's in the North American versions when they come out, I'd give Taiko no Tatsujin a 9 out of 10. That's a review of the Japanese version of Taiko no Tatsujin for the Nintendo Switch. If you have any questions about the game, feel free to ask me in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, then please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new around here. I make videos like this every single week, and you can check out some of the newest videos on the left side of the screen. Thank you all very much for watching, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one.